What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Nurse Niche Podcast. I'm your host, Sean. Thanks for tuning in, as always. Start today's episode off with a little housekeeping issues or housekeeping thoughts. As always, thanks for tuning in. You know that I'm on iTunes under the Nurse Niche. You can also find me on my blog, My Strong Medicine. The podcast, the interest in the podcast, and the word out on the streets is growing slowly. Getting contacted from other nurses out on Twitter talking about the podcast, liking it, so greatly appreciate the feedback. Please keep it coming. Still keeping it simple. Yep, me and the iPhone. Haven't been able to make the leap into something a bit more advanced, but trust me, I'm working on it. Alright, today's topic, talking about nurse practitioners, and I had a interesting brief conversation with a fellow nurse talking about wanting to go back to school and interested in becoming a nurse practitioner. Whoop whoop, thank you. The decision on which direction to take as a nurse practitioner. And the ultimate question being FNP versus ACNP, which in non-nursing terms means, do I go for a primary care position, working in primary care with patients across the lifespan, or do I specialize in acute care? Which is more inpatient, and while it's mostly working with the adult population, can also work with the pediatric population. Depends on the program in which you enroll in. This is a legitimate and real concern for all the nurses out there who are making the leap to advance their career and become a nurse practitioner. Gone are the days where you can just enroll in a nurse practitioner program and then once you graduate say, I'm going to be a primary care or family practice nurse and I'm going to work in an office. Boom, there you go. Or after I graduate, I decided I want to work in the hospital and I want to work with the cardiologist. Boom, there you go. Those days are gone. They no longer exist, and you can thank it in part to the National Council on the State Board of Nursing, who created what is called the consensus model. And the brief, personal version of that basically means is that all nurse practitioners are now becoming specialized. You have to pick a specialty, or you have to not pick a specialty. You either have to be specialized in acute care or you go into primary care, which is called family practice. The big major difference, two major differences in that, is that first you have to pick your population. Family practice is the lifespan from birth to death. You're going to deal with the infants, the children, the teenagers, and the adults. In acute care, you have the lifespan of an adult, which is usually 18 years and older. There are some programs out there that allow you to go into acute care for pediatrics or neonatal, but those are very, very specialized and very few programs out there right now. That is a growing avenue of interest. So while it's out there, it's not easy to enroll. So basically, an acute care nurse practitioner is an adult nurse practitioner. Here's where the problem lies, is that say you decide, I'm a nurse, I'm going to become a nurse practitioner, and I enroll in my nurse practitioner school program, and you are not exactly sure where you want to go. Do I want to work in primary care, family practice, FNP, or do I want to go to adult care, acute care, working in a specialty program? Sidebar, when I say acute care, That means any kind of specialty. You can work in cardiology in the acute care setting. You can work in pulmonology, renal. You can work in oncology and any of the acute care settings. And when I say acute care, it means not in the office. It's in the hospital or in a specialty clinic. Okay, out of the sidebar. Back to my scenario, nurse, graduated, nurse practitioner, choosing FNP primary care, or do I do adult acute care? And then, halfway through the program, or after I graduate, I figure out that, you know what, I didn't really want to work in primary care. I liked it in the inpatient setting. I liked it in, and I will be biased, I liked it in the ICU setting. Here's where the problem lies, is that 99% of the employers out there are following in line with this consensus model. So very rarely can you be an FNP and work in an acute care setting. Not only is it very rare, but it's almost not allowed in most states because you're not properly trained. Education is one thing. You get the same amount of education. Granted, in family, you do a lot more pediatrics across the lifespan as opposed to just adult. But as an FNP, you do not enroll in a lot of the acute care, critical care sort of education. So you miss out on a couple things. Neither good or bad. It just is. That's just the way the programs are structured now. So when a nurse decides that they want to become a nurse practitioner, they really have to do some digging within themselves and within their experience as a nurse, their professional experience, as to what tripped their trigger, what was it that interested them the most about becoming a nurse practitioner. I do get this question a lot, asking me the advice, which direction should I take? And here's my best piece of advice, and it was a piece of advice that was given to me by my old program director. And I don't mean old, I just mean that my program director for when I decided years ago to become a nurse practitioner. I asked the same question. Should I go FNP or should I go acute care? And here was her answer, and I still think it holds true today. Think about where you want to be in 5 years after you're out in practice. Who do you want to take care of? Where do you see yourself practicing? Now, if you're willing and wanting to change gears and to change your profession altogether, if you were an ICU nurse and you really feel that you want to be in primary care, then by all means, you definitely should go into the FNP program. But if there's a shred of you that enjoys acute care, enjoys the critical care portion, enjoys the specialty areas, then you should reconsider where you're going to start. Sure, after it's all done and over with as an FNP graduate, if you truly do want to go back, you truly want to be in acute care, there are options. There are bridge programs. You can go back and get your postgraduate certification, but that's more schooling and that's more money. So if you're going to do it right the first time, because nobody likes having to spend more money on education. Last time I checked, I don't have a lot of money to throw to the schools. You also have the time and investment you have to make in order to go back. And the reversal is true as well. I, as an acute care adult nurse practitioner, if I decide that I want to go into primary care and the FNP route, there are options out there for me. There is postgraduate certificate programs out there that are anywhere from 9 months to 18 months. Some vary depending on where you go. But it's still extra time, extra money. So if you're going to enroll in a nurse practitioner program, try and do it once and only once. As an adult nurse practitioner, myself, I'm an acute care nurse practitioner. I can care for anyone who is an adult in the acute care setting, in the inpatient setting, and in some instances, outpatient setting, but it has to be acute care. So I could take care of patients in a clinic or in an outpatient office that is specialty. So I could care for the cardiology group's patients or the nephrology group's patients. So if you have to think of it in terms of what patients am I caring for in the hospital that I could also see out of the hospital, obviously I care for the critically ill patients in the ICU. When they get out of the ICU, they have a whole slew of chronic problems that they had prior to seeing me, and more problems that they're going to have taken care of after they see me. So you can't really use that as a example. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. Everyone's answer is different when it comes to making that big decision. I would just make sure that you take the time and make the effort to speak to those who are already doing it, speak to the program directors, speak to other nurses, try and get a sense of what it is that you want out of this. I would hate for you to go through school and then realize after tens of thousands of dollars that you have to go back and get a postgraduate certificate. Any nurses out there interested in becoming a nurse practitioner and have these questions, by all means, give me a shout. Contact me on all of my social media outlets. Best way to find me is SeanDent.com. I'm there at my landing page. You can find all my social media handles. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I have a personal Facebook page. I have a fan page. I have my blog. I also have this podcast. And, of course, I'm out there on Google+. Oh, I forgot Instagram. I'm also out there on Instagram. My personal Facebook page and my Instagram account are kind of a mix of nursing as well as my other passion of fitness and exercise. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm also a CrossFit coach and a weightlifting coach, a Olympic weightlifting coach. So if that interests you, by all means, hit me up. Thanks for tuning in, checking me out, having a listen. Be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. And as always, have fun out there.